morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are. Warm welcome to all of you to this morning session. We have a panel discussion here presented to you by IIBA India and IIBA Chennai chapter on the topic remote working, wins and challenges. I'm Ashok Nichani, Vice President, Professional Development at IIBA Chennai chapter. It's my privilege to introduce to you all the distinguished panelists for today's event. I'll begin with Mr. Beno Sebastian. He's a General Manager, Global Planning and Forecasting at Ford Motor Company. He brings with him 24 years of IT industry experience on software development, engineering, project and program management, portfolio management, business process reengineering, agile transformation, and organizational transformation. Welcome on board, Mr. Beno. We have with us Ms. Prasantini Kalyanasundaram. Prasantini has over 17 years of experience. She's been working with people at CM in Evonsys as a product manager. She's also an active member of the IIBA Chennai chapter and is the vice president for membership. She's fond of building the community of business analysis, practice, networking, and knowledge. Welcome on board, Ms. Prasantini. Our next panelist is Mr. Sanjay Kumar. Mr. Sanjay has played diverse roles during his 30+ years of career in the information technology and operations arena. His business and technology experience exposure covers retail banking, insurance, wealth management, and trading systems. He's played key roles in various organizations such as ITC Infotech, HCL Technologies, Emphasis, Westport, Citibank, and Capital One. He's also completed his MBA in finance from Wharton Business School and a bachelor's in instrumentation and mechanical engineering from BITS Pilani. He's also the president of IIBA Bangalore chapter. Thanks for your time today, Mr. Sanjay, and welcome on board. Our next panelist is Mr. S. Satyanarayanan. Satya is a fervent, self-driven professional with over 18+ years of rich experience in supply chain architecture, governance, consulting, business development, and people management. He's an associate director with Cognizant, responsible for delivery and pre-sales of projects and programs. He's also a mechanical engineer and holds a management degree from Symbiosis and certified production and inventory management from APICS USA. He's an honorary supply chain and procurement consultant and trainer at Physics Business Consultants Private Limited, delivering inventory, supply chain, procurement, and transportation programs of physics. He's also an honorary consultant at Proper Apps Private Limited in developing supply chain mobile applications. A zealous volunteer and master trainer in skill development programs, teaching, coaching for the not so privileged school and college students, transgenders, and people with locomotor disabilities on behavioral, soft skills, employability, career planning, and presentation skills. Wow, that's commendable indeed. He's also an ardent public speaker and has held the post of VP membership in Dynamic Leaders Forum of Toastmasters Club. He's also a member of IIBA's Chennai chapter, and he's enthusiastic about doodling and miniature modeling. Thanks for your time today, Mr. Satya, and welcome on board. So here were the panelists, and now we've got our very own Purani Srinivasan, the vibrant Vice President of IIBA Chennai chapter for event planning. So she'll be playing the role of moderator for today's event. A brief introduction about Purani for you. Purani comes with a diversified background in automobile industry with experience over 16+ years. She has profound experience in pre-product management, supply chain management, program and customer relationship management, purchasing and supplier relationship management, warehouse operations, business analysis, and product ownership. She currently plays the role of Manager Agile Business Analysis at Renault Nissan Technology and Business Center India Private Limited. So thank you all very much for joining us today. And I leave the floor to Purni to take it forward and steer the course of today's discussion. Over to you, Purni. Thank you.
Thank you, Ashok. Good morning, namaste, vanakkam, namaskar to one and all. It's been 2 years since we all started working from home. But now that many of us are vaccinated and the offices are resuming, most of us are at a place to choose between working from home or returning to office. On a lighter note, we have to choose between the two devils of our life. Do we take a chance and go to office and put up with our bosses face to face, or continue managing the boss at home? Going on to know the views and ideas of all our panelists, let's get started. Let me start with a lady. As the saying goes, ladies first. So, Prashantini, there is a study that is conducted by the US Employee Protection Forum that working from home has created a better work life balance. As the only woman panelist today, please tell me if working from home really did make it better for you?
Yes, definitely. Yes. Thanks for having me here for me, and it's a great discussion topic. Definitely a yes, but there were times in the past where I thought I was constantly super busy and it was getting too exhaustive shuffling between home and work, and there was never a free time or a personal time, if you know what I mean. So then I realized balance is just not about time management, but it is also about boundary management. So I set clear boundaries, I reprioritized things, and did only things that mattered most in both personal and professional spaces. I learned to say no to my distractors. So though it was challenging initially, after adopting to this lifestyle, I actually realized that working from home can actually offer greater flexibility in managing their work-life balance. Now I get to spend more time with family. There are days, even work days, where we have all the three needs together, which has created happy memories and great bondings. I've taken time out for self-improvement. I managed to pick up a health routine. And some of my passion projects, which were in the to-do list for a long time, has now moved to doing or done in the recent months. From a career growth perspective, I wanted to scale up from a BA to a product owner, and then I kind of accomplished that. So I would say that I definitely, though it was a struggle in the beginning, I've kind of adapted to this, and this balance, the work-life balance, was great to me. So the key is setting up clear boundaries, knowing your goals with clarity, and sticking to smart work, as in doing only what matters most. I think, that's my two cents to it.
Wow. Thank you, Prashantini. That is an individualistic view. But what about a group view? Let's go to the men and take their opinion on this. So, Binu, can you please share your perspective on creating better work-life balance?
So I feel that actually it was similar to what Prashantini mentioned here. So nothing different when it comes to different gender. But what I see here is the in the previous COVID situation, the activities which we used to perform was more place dependent. Right? We used to group activities based on where we are, and then we used to actually perform those activities from that particular place. So we used to actually hear, don't take office work home, or office is not a place for personal work, right? But now the situation changed. Now it constantly remains in one place, but there is no major change in the activities other than the travel to office and back. So more than work-life balance, here I see is how we can actually manage work and life. Can we actually have, because all the activities currently can be part of a same backlog, right? We don't have to actually separate it. There is no clear distinction we have to actually mark between this is work, this is life, because you are at home. So why can't we actually put all the activities in the same backlog and prioritize it based on the importance of that one? So you may have to actually spend time with your family, helping them on cooking lunch, right? That may be priority during during a day where your family may not be maybe sick or something, right? Or you may have to actually help your kids on doing homework or supporting them on exams. So it is more on combining everything together into a same backlog, if you call it as an IT term, and then based on priority, based on importance, pick the item and then execute it and be flexible, right? That's my opinion.
Interesting. I think I will have to imbibe this backlog in my life. But Satya, what's your take on this?
First of all, very good morning to everybody who are here, and special good morning to my fellow panelist and my dear friend Purni, moderator. If you see, we have been working long hours irrespective of the nature of work or where we work. If I have to say, working more than the stipulated time is kind of in our blood. Now, why? Historically, we have seen that our grandparents have been working for making a living, right? For the three basic amenities of food, clothing, and shelter. So they never complained, they always worked more. The next generation of our parents, or possibly a bit of us, now that those three amenities are met, we've started working for a better lifestyle, right? And we have also kind of did not complain, we also put more effort and we have been working. Now that is provided, the Gen Z or the next generation that we see is going to work only for a better standard of living, or more of luxury, I should say, luxury and passion. So genetically speaking, overworking is kind of ingrained in our DNA, right? As the saying goes, we keep, or I should say, we are too busy making a living that we forget to live, right? While this is there, we always take off when there is a sudden catastrophe in our personal life. But then we never look at or understand the slow and subtle catastrophe that is brewing in the dark when we are working over time, unless it is too late. So we need to take that example of lesson learned from others and strike a good balance. And if you look at your question, which is very carefully worded, it never says the difference between work life and personal life. It is calling out the difference between work and life. So the question by itself differentiates. There is a life to live and there is a work that needs to support. And I think we need to keep that in mind and strike a beautiful balance between both. Thank you.
Well said, Satya. Sanjay, with your amount of experience, I'm sure you can shed more light on how do we manage this. I mean, I'm one of the people who struggles a lot trying to strike a balance between work and work life and personal life, if I should correct it a little. But then what's your take on this, Sanjay?
I think I'll take beyond what Satya was saying with a different personal perspective. Whenever I would take a vacation, the vacation used to be far more hectic than my work life. It used to be continuous, non-stop activity, and we would go at it. No rest, nothing. So if you take a 2-week vacation, at the end of 2 weeks, you need 1 week to recover from it. More importantly, I was very lucky. I did not predict COVID, but about 3 months before COVID hit, I had gotten out of the organized sector and moved into something which was more personal and driven by my own interests. So one, I got used to work from home for 3 months. Good training period in that sense. Looking at the way we work, it's always been a challenge in terms of how do you balance the work and life. And one thing which I learned over time, it is dependent so much more on your personal perspectives. You need to drive that. We learn it a little late in life in terms of where do we need to draw a line. In 40s, early 50s, we start getting into that mode. And I'm just hoping the next generation is focusing far more actively onto that in terms of how do they need to balance. It is, believe me, to some extent dependent also on work from home, because being in Bangalore, I cut out about 2 hours of travel time on a daily basis. Now that's a huge amount of saving. How much of that should go to work and how much of that should go to family life is always going to be a question, which will be a debate between me and my wife. That is still a balance which has to be driven actively by every individual. The earlier we learn there is a balance which has to be driven, and it will change over time, the better it is for us on both fronts, both on the work life and on the family life also. So that's my take on it. Work from home has definitely helped, but it's given rise to a few more questions also.
Very true. Thank you so much, Sanjay. There's a study that was conducted by Stanford on over 16,000 workers in the US over a span of 9 months. And the study concluded that working from home has actually increased productivity by 13%. This increase in performance was attributed more to calls per minute, to a quieter and convenient working environment, and so many more things. So, Bino, do you think really working from home creates the required output for an organization?
I think, see, this may be the most debated question probably in the last 18 months. And depends upon which sector you are in, the productivity or the output varies. Okay, so let's focus more on the IT side. The early indicators of productivity measurement after the shutdown started was not that encouraging. So we actually saw a sudden decline in productivity during the March, April, May time, but gradually from later part of the June, it started increasing. And then it actually went up. Right now, if you actually even see the productivity at an industry level for IT, it is much above than our pre-COVID situation. And we know that it may be because of the amount of time we are actually spending for our work may be actually high. But at the same time, we also felt, in our organization also, we also felt that normally we used to actually calculate our productive hours at 6 hours or 6.5 hours maximum on a day when we actually assign, the responsibilities to the team. But now, as you don't have to actually travel to office and back. So, and also you don't have to actually switch between work and then office work, work and life, in a more difficult way. So the transition is very smooth. So the productivity also increased. As a leader, and as part of the organization, there are the few steps we have to actually take to ensure that the productivity remains high. And I feel that this is actually very much important at this pre and post-COVID situation, where we are all dealing with how to actually measure output or how to actually measure productivity or performance. So defining a policy around productivity and performance measuring and communicating that to the organization at the highest level of transparency and is very much important. And we should be actually open to feedback, because we are all learning through this particular process. So whenever as we receive feedback, we should be able to correct those policies. The second one is defining the KPIs for or key performance indicators for each roles, and then ensure that clarity of those expectations are very clear and shared with the people whom we are actually working with. So you have to actually mention that your performance will be measured based on these KPIs. Then other one is on a milestone-based approach, which will actually help the team in achieving a goal-based deliverables, rather than we actually most looking from an individual's delivery or accomplishment point of view, and also see how we can actually find opportunity based on the accomplishments of those milestones to celebrate those accomplishments. Then measuring the performance based on an outcome instead of an output is what we should actually do, where the objectives and key results are should be the base to actually measure that. So based on my opinion, measuring productivity is very much important. It should be in a meaningful way for the organization, and also employees also should feel good about it. So to come back to your question, yes, productivity increased, but at the same time, we have to actually see our way of actually measuring this productivity should actually transform from an output to an outcome. Thank
Interesting
you.
thought. But probably that may be, I don't know, I'm just thinking aloud, it may be manageable for an organization of a smaller size. Satya, you work for an organization like Cognizant, which employs over 15,000 employees out of almost every location of theirs. So how did your organization manage working from home?
Good question, Purni. I hope I don't sound like blowing my own trumpet when I answer this question. Well, being an IT organization, we always had the flexibility of working hours. At least the flexibility of closing time at least was flexible, right? We can close at 10 or 12 o'clock in the night. But then when pandemic struck, the organization immediately decided to let all the employees work from home for 6 months. And as and when we were nearing the deadline, the organization or the business continuity planning kept meeting and kept extending that deadline. Not only that, it kept a few months ahead, it kept the employees posted saying, you know what, the work from home is now extended till this time. The reason being, organization understands that everybody would have, or most of them would have possibly traveled to their place of liking of their native. And then people need a little bit time to plan. And when organization cannot provide laptops, in fact, organization pack the desktops to employees' home. So employees can possibly come there, carry that packet back home, and they can take it to their native and work. That way, it kind of really helped all the employees work. And you're right in saying that organization as Cognizant is huge. We have about 300,000 associates. And we have about 2/3 of them in India, which is 200,000 in India. Being such a large organization, I am not having that say in what HR decides. But having said that, I'm very happy that I have a say as an employee. That is what is most important, not as a manager. So frequently, organization brings up this work at home survey. And every few months it sends to all of us and then gauges the pulse that what employees want. In fact, you would be surprised to know that they were not just open-ended questions saying, what is your thought? It went to the detailed extent of saying, would you like to start working early? Like, do you want to start at 6 and end at 2? Or do you want to start working at 2 o'clock and then work till 10? Right? Do you want to come to work alternate days? Which alternate day do you want to come? Right? It went to the extent of giving every single choice that you can think of. And that really helps you to understand, okay, I need to take my kid to dance class on Tuesday and Thursday, so I can take Monday, Wednesday. Right? So it gives that flexibility to an employee and it respects us more as an employee. That was kind of very good. And of course, my vote is always work from home, except for when I'm at on-site and when I'm at close to client and I have a client meeting. For the last 6 years, I've been working from home. So ignore me. Next is that considering that we are going to get a new normal, the organization is trying to take this kind of workplace to a whole new level by saying that employees can opt to work for only 4 days a week, or you can only 6 hours a day. Of course, you will have to discuss with your manager, your project has to allow and all that. But once you decide, your salary also will be decided on that basis. But there are people who really want to have that work-life balance, isn't it? Money is not the only thing that we are striving for always. An organization is willing to extend that option to all the employees. Those are certain things that Cognizant is trying to do for the employees. Thank you very much.
Wow. That seems nice. But you know, we are connected through IIBA, and therefore let me focus a little more on business analysts now. So Sanjay, you are the president of IIBA. So I'm going to pose the next question over to you. I read in a survey that over 40% of business analysts contribute into banking industry. So given that, in your experience, did work from office before we were forced to lock down yield a greater productivity than working from home? How do you think the business analyst community reacted to this?
I think one of the basic elements, and I will agree with both what Bino and Satya were saying, productivity definitely improved. But now I want to look at the productivity from 2 different angles. Was the productivity technically correct? Absolutely technically correct, to the point I had better productivity coming out of the meetings. It was short meetings, to the point, getting everything and getting the meeting recording also helps quite a bit. That definitely helped. But 2 elements went missing out of some things which I have always coached BAs in terms of doing. When you're face to face with your customer, whether it's a client, whether it's an internal customer, irrespective, you should also look at the body language. Now, in a meeting, the body language is much more difficult to notice. And the body language would tell us a lot of the things which would go into adding further. to whatever we were doing in terms of the activity, whether it was as consulting, whether it was as a BA, on both fronts. Where is the person hesitating? Where is the person confident? If the person is hesitating, do I need to probe it from a different angle and figure out more details? Because those might be the hot points, which if I don't factor into my activities, those will continue to be hot points. And while the project has reached a correct level, delivered according to what was required, did it solve the issues? That kind of a question starts coming into play. So there is that item which went missing. The second item, and that's more to do with consulting than with the BA perspective, a lot of the side discussions, they evaporated. Now the side discussions give those frills around whatever work we do. Those side discussions were vanishing. The number of people who would reach out and do a casual chat, even in a work day, that went from whatever we were doing to barely 10%. Some people still did it, but very few. And that, again, technically correct. Whatever output was there was absolutely technically correct. Whatever the body language perspective, that reduced quite a bit. The third thing, the casual discussions have actually a two-factor perspective. The frills, but also my knowledge gain on working. And that will not show up in the next 6 months or like that. That will start showing up and having an impact something like 2 years down the line, 3 years down the line. Those are some of the things which we still need to address as to how do we handle that in work from home or in remote working. And these are the perspectives which I have carried very strongly based on whatever I have been doing in terms of consulting also.
Wow, that's a very interesting aspect. I'm just thinking forward from there. So how do you keep up the team morale given that, the side frills are not there anymore, people are confined to their own space of working. So Prashantini, what do you think are, the ways to keep people floated and, stay happy? And what kind of tools do you promote for this?
Sure. I'll talk from my personal experience, Purni. So when I moved to Evansis in April, I was virtually onboarded. That was my first ever experience, and it was challenging in many ways. It was tricky because the whole team is new to me. I have not seen them face to face. And on the other side, I realized that many of my teammates were also struggling to build such a rapport because they all kind of dispersed to their natives, and they've also not seen each other. Over time, I realized the team was kind of in a storming stage where there were a lot of conflicts of opinion, resistance, which eventually led to lack of participation. If there are meetings where when we ask for the status, even then we wouldn't get enough response from the people. And honestly, there were issues with team members where they were not ready to accept me as a new member and positioning as a product management for the first time. So then we kind of failed to achieve some of our sprint goals, and there were delays and dissatisfaction with our business stakeholders. From there to what we are today, we have done a lot to improve team morale, and it was more of a team effort. So my first recommendation would be to have a lot of one-on-ones. At least the initial times, I told the people to kind of turn on the video. I said in the invite itself, I said that upfront so that they were ready. I recently read a report which states that about 82% of employees appreciate having at least once in a week a one-on-one with their managers, at least post-pandemic, because they needed that space to connect with the managers and express their concerns. And we also try to create a culture to motivate the employees to come and seek feedback. It is not like I have to give you the feedback. When you have done something, accomplished something, or when we are discussing on the demo preparedness meetings, you come and ask, is this okay? Can this be made better? So that the conversation becomes a lot more easier. So in our organization, we use Microsoft Teams as our primary means of collaboration, which comes with a lot of team-built apps. Like it has got a whiteboard, it has got polling, and a lot more built apps that you can readily use. And we also use a communication platform called Pulse within our Agile Studio, where we kind of use our user stories and publish, maintain, which also sends notifications. So that was our central location where any clarifications or any discussions about our work-related matters happens, and it was easier to track that. We also have something called Time Pulse, which is more like an employee engagement and feedback software. So every time there is an appreciation, when we want to like broadcast to a wider audience, we use that, and we use that for also sending back constructive feedbacks. Though there are tools and they can achieve something, I think it's up to us, up to people to kind of do virtual team building exercise. So in our team, at least with a couple of us who are really comfortable, we try to do video conferencing as much as possible. And mostly we do that on Fridays. We call that as Friday fun. We tend to have lighter discussions during that time, like coming up with your weekend to do movie list. And the activities like asking them to upload the photo of their dream vacation. And that was the time when we were in peak lockdown. So I was just telling, let's at least do that in dream. So come up with a photo of your dream vacation, paste that into the chat and have some discussions oriented towards that. Why do you like that place and things like that. And we've soon, coming up, we've soon planned to prepare a collage of all our work, home office photos and kind of put it as a virtual background. So crazy things like this, but I think it definitely helps to build that rapport. And sometimes it's between meeting up the deadline and also having some concern towards your people. They have got a lot of responsibilities at home, taking care of like household chores, taking care of the kids and things like that. So it's balancing between that, trying to understand them with empathy, being honest with them. So I think all that is also important above and beyond the tools that we use.
Well, what you're saying is what I have done right now as a virtual background. So this is a photo of Faroe Islands where I want to visit sometime in my life. Managing, I'm currently today in middle management, so I directly manage a team. That is one kind of a challenge, but you head an entire department. So you have people who manage people. So in your experience, what do you think will make the entire team, at all levels, feel pepped up and continue to do their work, or bring about more? And what kind of things, tools and collaboration ways do you recommend?
Right, so my team is actually a globally distributed team where we are having presence in US and here in India. And we used to actually operate like this for the last 10, 11 years. So even though in-person interaction is very much important, but we were actually used to operate mostly in a virtual model for a longer duration. So either interacting with our business counterparts in US or in Europe or different parts of the world. And being a larger organization which having more presence in more than 180 countries. So it will be really difficult for to actually manage everything in person, because we were actually used to operate in this remote working model or virtually connected. But like Sanjay mentioned in his as part of the previous question's answer, working from home reduced opportunity for social interactions. So wherever the people used to actually come together and work from an office facility, this reduction in the social interaction or opportunity for social interactions will have impact on their emotional connect, as well as on a longer run, this may even result in building trust deficiency among the team. So I feel as a major action we as leaders has to actually take for keeping the morale high of the team is actually promoting or providing a sense of togetherness to the team. Okay, so by giving a team-based importance for a team-based goal rather than concentrating on individuals' performance. So I agree with what Prashant mentioned about how we should actually achieve that. A periodic connect with the team is actually, or individuals are very much important. One-on-one meetings, very much important to really connect with them, checking with them how they are actually doing, how their family is actually doing, is there any challenge they are actually facing, and supporting them on addressing those challenges. And then organizing virtual get-togethers. That's so even we actually do in Ford also. There is actually periodic surveys which we actually conduct for collecting information from the team, from the feedback from the team, and also to see how we can actually improve on many areas which is where there is an opportunity for improvement. Then talking about virtual team events, we are actually looking for celebrating any milestones, achievement of any milestones, any goals. And last year, we actually tried to bring back our coffee machines talk virtually. So like Sanjay was mentioning about, those are the things which we are missing a lot, right? The coffee machine talks, or the discussion we used to actually have on the lunch tables. So we actually use the WebEx team room facility to open a room during the coffee time, so that anyone want to actually just join that particular room with a mug of coffee, and then have some discussions which is totally different from the official discussions they are actually having. Then talking about the tool, so that's one interesting thing which happened during the COVID situation: introduction and growth of lots of collaboration tools. Like the Zoom itself, we are actually using now. It's actually it's actually a product of the COVID situation, right? And then the features, new features which is getting added into these tools are also tremendous. Earlier we used to actually get once in 6 months upgrades for WebEx. Now we are actually getting almost every week some new features are getting added. So, but when it comes to recommending tools for collaboration, I recommend two sets of tools. One is the tool which is actually which your organization is recommending. So for the official purposes, mainly because of considering the data protection, privacy, and also keeping the secrecy of the discussions you are actually having. So whichever tool your organization is actually recommending for that purpose, use that. But otherwise, whichever tools which you are actually comfortable with, either maybe WebEx, the WhatsApp chats or calls, videos, whatever it's available, use that for your personal purpose, or connect with your team, whenever there is no official things are actually getting discussed. So that's my opinion.
Very interesting, Binu. As our attendees are also, encouraging us with so many comments and participating along with us. Just reading out one of it: social interactions are paramount in building team spirit. Yes, I completely agree. But there's I actually read about a psychological survey that was conducted that, while working from home, many people went through emotional distress. There were many cases of, feeling alone, and that leading to some kind of a stress, an emotional stress that created in people. So Sanjay, according to you, how do you think various organizations support this? And how do you think they support their employees?
What I would take is a very different take onto that. When I left the organized sector, I moved to the NGO and social environment. And we were working with the girl children in high school and ready to move to college. One of the things which was there, we were having weekly discussions with them, weekly meetings with them at school. So with a nice group of 30, 40 kids, have a discussion, get them to open up, get them to talk about the challenges they are facing. The social challenges brought about a very, very different perspective. These families not only did not have any kind of technology help, so no smartphones, no laptops at home. How do you start connecting? We worked with multiple options, so it forced us to start looking at how could we connect. We came about, so I'm talking technology only, but I'm talking with a very different perspective. No internet. And here we went to the old IVR kind of systems. One company which has done that, we could record short conversations, which could be anything from 2 to 5 minutes, publish it every week, get the listeners to contribute their thoughts. And we could then start responding to their thoughts again on the IVR. So it was a kind of a asynchronous, but conversation started off. Funny part which happened, a lot of these kids come from not well-to-do areas. So in October, November, when COVID numbers came down, we actually went to meet a few of them, got our volunteers to go visit their homes. Perspective was twofold. One, to find out how they are doing, how their families are doing, and second, to start reestablishing the connect which we had lost over 6-7 months, which was no face-to-face connect. One such incident comes up, sticks very strongly with me. We went to Ejipura area in Bangalore, which is one of the bigger slum areas onto that. And by the time I had finished my 3 hours of round, I had something like 6 or 7 girls taking me from one home to the next home. This had become their social gathering perspective. Not only they were meeting friends, but they were guiding me across those areas. So definitely the kind of perspective which we have to go a longer way in terms of establishing that social is important. Some of the focuses which have to be there. Yes, there will always be a risk involved into some of these things. So we had to take part of that risk with us, but it was very much worth it. It's a risk return trade-off which is there, and we decided this was the risk worth it for the kind of return which we were getting. This was very important, and this now can be expanded on to from an organization perspective also. How does HR come up with ideas where people can connect, maybe electronically, but people can connect from a social perspective, a simple social perspective. What was being talked earlier in terms of the WebEx teams, WebEx meeting rooms and all, those small conversations get people onto a simple 10-minute, 15-minute general chit-chat session. How do you do mentoring into that is again a huge challenge, because my prior role before I left my organization was to take care of learning and development, and all the campus graduates would be in my department for the first 3 months of the organization. Now the mentoring became a challenge. How do you team up people with that mentor? How do you get people to understand what mentoring means and get them to mentor remotely? Now, these are some of the things which, while we have been able to do something, we are still working on how to expand it further. So it's a journey which has started using different tools, using different means. And the idea is, even when we get back into hybrid mode, and which is my belief, we will get back into hybrid mode, work from home has become part of life, we will still need to continue evolving and figuring out new ways. So let's make sure we experiment with those. Not every experiment will succeed, but let's figure out and contribute those experiments and the results with everyone.
Well, as they say, child is a father of man. So you've just extrapolated it completely, taking it from kids all the way to organizations. I must quote one incident that happened recently in my own career. I had one of my employees, I was giving them a feedback based on their annual appraisal, and she got all in tears, and there was nothing I could do to stop. I rescheduled the connect for the later part of the day, but she again got back into tears. So given this kind of a scenario where we have psychological study that says a lot of people have had issues, even all of these, Satya, how easy or difficult was it for you to provide direct feedback to your employees? And do you have any specific lessons that you have learned that you'd like to share with us?
Certainly. So when we talk about giving feedback, right? It actually starts from, I would say, setting the goal first, right? A feedback is actually a measure against the goal. So first thing that we need to do is to set a goal, right? And being in an IT organization, I have got used to this concept called global delivery model. Most of my team members would be spread across the geography. One, for the nature of business that we do. Second is that there is a business continuity planning. So either way, the team is dispersed across everywhere, not just because of COVID. So as they say, necessity is the mother of calamity. Necessity is a mother of invention. What I had come up with that I would have a call with the team at the start of the cycle and set that expectation, saying these are the goals that we would measure. And once that is kind of aligned, what I would do is I have an Excel file that is placed in a central location where the entire team can look at it. So be it our regular work that we do, any projects that we do, or any other external or org related activity, we all put there. And what happens is that there is no approval mechanism. Everybody goes and updates that Excel. And when they start updating, you can never have that curve. You can never curb that curiosity. You would obviously go up and down that Excel file and see who has updated what, right? And next is that I have a weekly connect or a monthly connect with my team, where everybody comes there and we all try to share what we have done in that 1 month. Mostly people are going to talk about that Excel. So people would share their screen, just filter their name on that Excel and say that, you know what, I did this in my project. I did this extra things, etc. And then I would do the same, and I would additionally add the org related updates, what is coming from the organization to them. By doing this, I am not having a review call with them. I'm not saying how is your performance. They are themselves saying about their performance. And what happens is that first month, maybe one person speaks for 2 minutes, somebody speaks for 10 minutes. But if this pattern continues for 2 or 3 months, they get the peer pressure. Right after that meeting is over, by the end of the day or before the end of the day, they would ping me saying, you know what, can I do something extra? Do you have something that I can work on? Because they can see that they have nothing much to talk, but the rest of the team has something to talk. It kind of adds as a peer pressure to them, rather than me pushing them as a manager. That working more or doing something extra has to be inside that person. It has to come within that person. And once you spark that curiosity saying, can I do more? Looks like I can squeeze 1 more hour to get something done. Then I think that it is really going to help not just them, but also the organization. That is one of the means that I have been trying to give them the feedback. It's not me giving the feedback. They are giving the feedback to their own self. So let's assume somebody has not done. Okay, if I take you, Purni, as a guinea pig of the evening, let's say you report to me and over 6 months, you have not told anything for more than 2 minutes, you had nothing to talk in your this thing. Obviously, you are tuned to get a not so good rating on your appraisal. So that discussion that happens by the end of the cycle is going to be relatively very easy. And the onus is on themselves rather than me. It is me as a manager who are trying to push them, but that is my means of doing things. Thank you.
Wow, that was very interesting. So let's get on a little lighter note. So Ashok, can you please play us all a wonderful video that you have with you?
That was a fantastic summary of the challenges of work from home and getting back to office.
Yeah,
Thanks,
I had
Ashok.
a hearty laugh. Alright. So getting back to my question right now. Now that we've discussed a lot about working from office and working from home, the pros and cons of both models. So what do you think is going to be the future? So I'm going to pose this question over to Satya. Is there an option for the possibility of a permanent work from home, like probably like how TCS has declared, or like how Google has declared until July 2022, all its employees gets to work from home. So do you think that can work out in India?
Well, it is true that the locational constraint is kind of blurring, right? Roles like sales, which require the most travel in our times, is also becoming remote these days. So the new normal where we work from will be called office, be it the desk that I have it in my home, in my study room, or I'm just sitting in a hotel like this and then doing a work. So practically I am in office, right? So that is how it is becoming. And if you ideally see, the situation is so becoming that it is not about the physical availability of an employee, but the I should say this, it is not the physical presence 9 to 5, but I need to be available from 9 to 5. Okay, so it has become availability than presence. So I would see that in foreseeable future, the offer letters would say that, first of all, you need to be available from or in work from 9 to 5, right? So the availability would start becoming a question going forward. And I also see that as an organization, we would set up what role needs to come to office and what should not. And that is also something that we'll see in the offer letter, because that is a expectation setting to an employee saying you need to come to office. It is not taken for granted. We always get an offer letter saying you need to report to office this time. That statement was very subtle because it was always taken for granted that we need to go. But going forward on that offer letter, that line is going to have a lot of significance, right? So we would look at that offer letter and see, should I be available or should I be present, right? That is how it is going to be, at least from my perspective, Purni.
Very interesting, Satya. But we know for an industry like automobile industry, which is probably a little more rigid in its way of working, do you think such a model of just having people available instead of present, do you think that will work out? What do you think is going to be the future for our industry? I mean, I come from automobile industry as well, so.
See, for it's not only for automobile industry, for any manufacturing industries where you have to be physically present to actually manufacture a part or a car or a Ford. You have to be in the manufacturing location. I am not sure about how much we will be able to actually take a factory back to home. I don't know, probably it may be in future, it may happen, but at this point of time, assembly lines are there, that huge investments are actually made. So you have to be present there at the plant to actually be productive and to actually make use of those tools. So Ford, so we are actually part of, even though our primary objective is to actually build and sell cars, but the organization I am actually belongs to is actually part of it, Ford Business Services, which includes engineering services, IT services, and also the business services, of course, for financial services. So here itself, we are actually defining different policies for different, teams, skill teams, based on the nature of the work they are actually doing. IT team, definitely, they can actually operate 100% or permanently from home. Their productivity is increasing. But as part of the IT itself, we are having IT operations. So they have to actually deal with hardware. They have to actually, issue laptops to the new joinees. Okay, so they have to be physically present in office to actually deal with the problem. Then engineering services, those who are actually dealing with equipments, design, they have to be physically present in office to be productive. Then the other skill team is actually the skill team dealing with the secret data. So vendor payments, payrolls, other secret, the new designs we are actually doing. So we don't want as an organization to actually expose these type of secret data to outside of our office premises or office network. So the future is based on the nature of the work and how much productive you will be based on where you are. The policy will be decided. So we actually started issuing, offer letters, people with 100% working from home, but that's for IT, but that's not for any other skill teams we are actually having in Ford.
Wow, great, Bino. I mean, that really makes sense for me. Prashantini, how about your teams? Are they looking forward to getting back to office, or are they happy working remotely?
It's a mixed crowd. I know we are cutting down on time, so let me keep a one-liner. So we're definitely looking forward. I think I have to talk for my team because we are looking at seeing real faces, doing real handshakes, birthday parties, project celebrations with real cakes and real puffs. So definitely looking forward. The work is getting done, but we are getting very poor in interactivity. The social interaction is getting bad. So maybe not all 5 days, but it will be at least for some time. It will be a balance between working at home and working at office locations. As a team, we are definitely looking forward to it. But that's my 2 cents. I think I have to stop here because the clock is also ticking. Thanks.
True. As you rightly mentioned, I think we are coming to the end, but let me take a question that's, a random question that's come up in our Q&A. So, Sanjay ji, the question is over to you. How do you think we can overcome solutions while working from office rather than remote interactions? So what kind of solutions would you recommend? Is a question that's come up. So would you like to take that up?
I think the bigger challenge is in terms of how do we start looking at getting back to office. There will be work from home, and the work from home has become something which has become a regular item for us. But it will be a hybrid perspective. So I'm interpreting the question slightly differently. Forgive me activity onto that. But what is important is it has to be something hybrid. We cannot continue doing remote activity. There is a huge amount of space which is required with some level of informal interactions. Now, whether technology allows those kind of minute-to-minute informal interactions, or do we still move back to face-to-face in-office perspective? That is something which time will tell. In the interim, it might be in the office, we will get into some of those activities. But definitely, it will be hybrid. We cannot continue working remotely because the systems which are geared up to give us productivity, the downsides will start coming up in the very near future, because we have been at it now for 1.5 years. So the negatives will start showing up far more strongly. And that's my belief. In that sense, yes, hybrid is required. How do we work at the hybrid is up to individual organizations. HR will have to scratch their brains. But one of the things, and I was part of HR till for the last few years, we resisted work from home. COVID put paid to that resistance. So that's one barrier which COVID has broken, is to make sure HR realizes work from home is required for survival. You don't do that, you will not survive. So that barrier is broken. However, still a lot of work to be done. Back to you, Purni.
Thank you so much, Sanjay. That was really enlightening. I have a lot of takeaways from each of what you panelists mentioned. I mean, a lot on my personal life, on my organization. So with this, I think we will move to a conclusion on the questions. Over to you, Madhavan.
Yeah, thank you so much, Purni. I hope you can hear me. I think it's still a valid question because we are working from home. I'm not at Tom. Okay. So fantastic session. So heartfelt thanks to all the panelists, and also to you, Vibrant Purni, for facilitating, and to Ashok for an excellent introduction, and thanks to the genius Raja for setting up with fantastic music. Yeah, if you just get to another slide, Ashok, please. Yeah, right. Can you just build on this, please? Yeah, thank you. Yeah, so it's an IPL time. So I just wanted to take a quick single. So in terms of all the changes that is coming to us, right? So even if we get 1% better every day, it kind of compounds to 37% or 37 times in a year. Something that I picked from Atomic Objects from James Clear. So it's more of every day, every month, every week, every year it adds to, right? What's the changes that we are doing, and to make ourselves better both personally and professionally. So just a quick takeaway. And one more build, Ashok, please. Yeah. So from an IABA Chennai chapter perspective, what we plan to do in the remaining 3 months. So probably one more webinar on an interesting topic. And also we would like to give a overview session on the IIBA certification, the data analytics. And then if there are interest and people want to do it, then certainly a study group on the product ownership analysis. So that is what we are hoping to do. Again, I thank everyone, thank all the panelists, and thank all the participants. So a lot of background work happens before we kind of successfully conduct this. So stay safe and see you all soon. Thanks a lot.